This isn't just another video on your wall. It's the exact moment the silence is broken to give you a clear answer. If you feel a tiredness that goes beyond the physical, stay here, because today you will understand the purpose of that weight you carry. There are no coincidences in this encounter. There's a truth about your identity that you need to hear right now. What you will receive in the next few minutes will give you the clarity you have sought for years, without empty promises, just a real connection with your Creator. Stay until the end, because your perspective on pain is about to change forever. There's a reality about your life that has remained locked away, not as punishment, but because your spirit needed to be ready to bear it. We're not going to talk about coincidences or luck. What you're experiencing right now, that lump in your throat or that fatigue in your bones, has been the groundwork laid, so that these words don't just bounce off your mind, but take root in your heart. You probably felt that strange sensation lately, like you're not alone in your room or while driving. It's not your imagination. It's a constant presence that's been waiting for you to let your guard down. You've spent too much time defending yourself against life, and today the heavens have decided you've carried that armor long enough. Many of us have grown up believing that feeling bad about ourselves is a way of being spiritual. You blamed yourself for situations beyond your control and called that burden discipline or repentance. But let me tell you something with complete honesty. That burden does not come from a heavenly source. You've spent years apologizing for simply being human, for being tired, or for not having all the answers. You become your own judge, passing judgment on your worth based on your wounds. It's time to rethink everything. The explanation you've sought for those years of silence isn't a condemnation. It's a revelation of who you truly are when you stop trying to live up to other people's expectations. Right? I accept my peace in the comments if you feel it's time to let go of burdens that don't belong to you. Sometimes we think that when the sky is silent, it's because it has forgotten us or because it's waiting for us to reach an impossible perfection before looking at us again. But the reality is much deeper. Imagine a doctor who doesn't take his eyes off the monitors during a delicate procedure. He's not absent. He's deeply focused. This is how you have been observed, not with arms crossed, waiting for you to fail, but with absolute attention, waiting for the moment when your heart was receptive enough to accept the truth. There's a wound that most try to hide, the idea that your suffering is proof that you have failed spiritually. We've been taught that if we're loved, we shouldn't suffer. And because you suffer, you conclude that you're unworthy. That's the lie that's being exposed today. Your pain isn't evidence of a lack of purpose. It's often a place where your true identity is being shaped. Think about your loneliest moments, those nights staring at the ceiling, searching for words that wouldn't come. Chances are your prayers became an endless list of apologies. I'm sorry for not being strong. I'm sorry for my doubts. I'm sorry for being who I am. You've repeated that script so many times it's become a part of you. But here's the transformative truth. You were never asked to apologize for your humanity. That cycle of constant guilt isn't a requirement for spiritual connection. You've been known since before your first breath. Your steps and your pauses are known, and nothing about who you are has ever surprised your Creator. Sometimes we've been led to believe that heaven is a giant eye watching us, waiting to catch us in our mistakes. We've been taught verses about how our thoughts are known, but with a tone of warning, as if we were under eternal surveillance. However, if we pause for a moment, the real message is much more comforting. It's not a punitive watch. It's a presence of guidance. It means that at that exact moment, at 3:47 in the morning, when the world is silent and you are alone with your doubts, there is no distance between you and your Creator. He is not on a distant throne judging your insomnia. He is right there, witnessing how your mind tries to process what hurts you. We all know that corner of the ceiling, the one you've memorized inch by inch because you spent hours searching for answers. At 3:47 a.m., when it's too late to ask a friend for help and too early to start the day, the weight of life feels 3 times heavier. That's when the questions turn into accusations. Why haven't I made any progress? Why am I still struggling with the same thing? We look at our phones, seeking solace in old messages or on social media, but the emptiness remains. Your throat closes up, not necessarily from crying, but from exhaustion of maintaining an image of well-being in front of others. In that precise moment, when you believe the silence is a sign of abandonment, is when divine closeness feels most real. It's not about someone watching your mistakes, but about someone who grieves with you because you're carrying a burden you should never have had to bear. Even in the most sacred narratives, we see this need for companionship in grief. In the darkest moments of Gethsemane, the sorrow was so profound that Jesus sought the comfort of his closest friends, and they fell asleep. This was not a reaction of anger. It was an expression of deep human loneliness. If you ever felt like no one sees your invisible battles, or that you've had to be strong in solitude for years, know that every single one of those hours has been recorded. Every time you said, "I can't take it anymore," and still found a way to get up the next day, someone was witnessing your courage. Right, I don't walk alone in the comments if today you decide to believe that your process has a faithful witness. For a long time, you've been asking yourself the wrong question. What did I do wrong to deserve this? You've searched your past for a mistake to justify your current situation, believing that the pain is a price you've paid for your failures. But today is the day to break that cycle. The real question is, why did I come to believe that my pain meant I was no longer loved? This idea that suffering equals rejection isn't a spiritual truth. It's a lie that has eroded your identity. We've been told countless times that fire refines gold, or that the desert is necessary. And while there's wisdom in the idea that trials shape us, sometimes we use those phrases to ignore the fact that we're simply in pain. The purpose of what you are experiencing is not to destroy you and then repair you, but to accompany you in the process of recognizing that, even in the midst of the trial, your value has not diminished by a single gram. We often cling to certain teachings, as if they were bandages for our wounds. You've surely heard, and perhaps even repeated to yourself, "This is just my desert season," or "God is refining me in the fire." And under that logic, you sit and wait for a breakthrough that seems never to come. But there's something that's rarely stated clearly. That's only half the story. If we cling to the idea that every blow life deals is a coldly calculated move by the heavens, we risk seeing a cruel creator who revels in our anguish. Religions sometimes paint a picture where every job loss, every betrayal, and every night of tears are threads in a master plan of suffering. But today I want you to consider something different. The purpose of a trial is not for you to move into it permanently. There's a refining fire. That's true. But what many are experiencing no longer feels like a process of improvement. It feels like an unbearable burden that drains their life. Sometimes it's not a divine hand keeping you in that situation, but your own belief that suffering is the only way to be faithful. Imagine for a moment that you're in a courtroom. You're in the dock, head bowed, accepting each charge read against you. An invisible prosecutor lists your mistakes, your missed opportunities, and those weaknesses that shame you so much. And you nod because you believe they're right. You've judged yourself so harshly that you forgot that this prosecutor shouldn't even have a say in your life. But suddenly, the doors open. God doesn't enter to sit in the judge's seat and pronounce a sentence. He walks directly toward you. He looks you in the eye and, with a voice that conveys not anger but deep empathy, says something that changes the rules of the game. "Stand up. This case has no merit." You try to argue, "But I'm guilty. I made those mistakes." And the response is a balm for the soul. "You were never judged by me. That judge who condemned you every morning wasn't me. It was yourself. You've been sentencing yourself to a life of guilt for debts that were paid long ago." Write "case closed" in the comments if you decide today to accept that there are no longer any charges against you. In the stillness of this moment, imagine that presence bending down to your level and delivering 3 truths that have been waiting for the right moment to be heard. I recognize you. I don't see the list of your shortcomings or the labels on your mistakes. I see you, the person who breathes beneath all that shame. I've never stopped looking at you with appreciation, even when you couldn't even look at yourself in the mirror. I feel your pain, not as someone who observes from afar, but as someone who regrets that you spent so much time believing that silence was a sign of disapproval. It pains me that you thought the pain was my way of punishing you. That accusing voice was never mine. You are free today. It's not a promise of future. It's a reality for this very moment. You don't have to earn this freedom through more suffering. The chains are broken now, not because you're perfect, but because compassion is stronger than any mistake. Perhaps you feel a knot in your chest or a need to release a breath you've held for years. That's your inner self acknowledging the truth. If you find it hard to believe because you think it's too good to be true, remember that's what grace is all about. It's a gift you don't deserve, but receive with humility. We are not before a distant judge, but a father whose heart is deeply moved by the suffering of his children. When you felt you could bear no more, there was a shared anguish in heaven, not because of your failings, but because of seeing you punish yourself for things that had already been forgiven. The silence was not absence. It was a respect of one who expects you to be ready to hear that the door was always open. Often, the enemy uses silence as a tool to distort the image of your Creator. He makes you believe that if there is an immediate response, it's because of latent rejection. But the truth is, heaven has never punished you with indifference. Consider the story of someone we'll call Marcus. He wasn't famous, just an ordinary person who, like you, stumbled upon profound truth one sleepless night. Marcus lived for 15 years under the shadow of a mistake from his youth. For over a decade, his prayer was like a broken record. Please forgive me. Give me another chance. He believed this insistence was a sign of humility, but in reality, he was rejecting the forgiveness that had already been granted to him. He sat in a cell whose door had been open since day one, awaiting a verdict that had already been handed down in his favor. Not guilty. When Marcus finally realized he didn't have to keep prosecuting himself, his life was transformed. It wasn't magic. It was that his spirit ceased to align itself with his accuser. Within weeks, doors he thought were sealed shut swung wide open. The heavens began to shift the moment he stopped being his own executioner. It's vital to distinguish between two feelings that seem the same, but have opposite destinies. There's a sadness that draws you closer to your essence and your faith, one that tells you, I made a mistake, but I know I'm still loved, so I'll seek refuge in the light. That's the reflection that heals. On the other hand, there's a sadness that pushes you away, the one that whispers in your ear. You failed too many times. You're the exception to the rule of mercy. You should hide. That voice is not a spiritual guide. It is a condemnation. The adversary cannot prevent you from being forgiven, but if it manages to convince you that you are not, it will have won the battle in your mind. That is why this message encounters resistance. Because the moment you abandon shame, you become someone with unstoppable authority. Right? I am free from shame in the comments if you decide to walk with your head held high today. When you think those years of silence were wasted, you're unaware that in the invisible realm, 7 fundamental gears were turning, crucial to your well-being. The silence wasn't abandonment. It was open-heart surgery. Pieces were moving on a chessboard you couldn't see. God was closing doors that seemed good, but would have led you astray from your true purpose. He was clearing your social circle so that when something new arrived, there would be no one to hinder your growth. Your character was being forged in patience. The version of you that will receive the promise must be strong enough to bear it. If the blessing comes before maturity, the weight will crush you instead of lifting you up. There were attacks that never reached you because the sky absorbed them for you. Silence was, on many occasions, a protective shield against plans that would have destroyed your future. There's a perfect time for everything. Joseph spent years in a dungeon before reaching the palace. But during that time, the situation in Egypt was aligning so that he was the only solution. Moses spent decades in the desert. But meanwhile, the generation that would have rejected him was passing away. Silence is not wasted time. It is a time of alignment. Let's think of silence not as a void, but as an incubator. The greatest example of this occurred more than 2,000 years ago. 30 years of anonymity in a carpentry workshop before only 3 years of public exposure. No one knew his name in that workshop, but that time was not wasted. It was a pivotal moment that shaped history. When divine timing meets quiet preparation, there is no trickle, but an eruption of purpose that makes up for every year you thought was lost. God wasn't building your fame. He was strengthening your roots. A tree that withstands a storm is not the one with the highest branches, but the one that has sunk deep into the earth while no one was watching. While you felt abandoned, 3 vital processes for your well-being were taking place in the celestial realm. Purifying your motive. Silence reveals why you want what you ask for. Are you seeking a way to prove something to others or fulfill your true mission? God waits for your why to be pure so that the blessing does not corrupt you. Empathy and grief. Though you cannot see it, Every night your tears dampened your pillow. The heart of your Creator was moved. He is not a sculptor who ignores a marble. He is a master so focused on his work that silence is a sign of his complete attention. The synchronization of destiny. Sometimes the door doesn't open because the people on the other side aren't ready to receive you yet, or because the place you're going to is being cleared of traps that would have destroyed you. Right? I trust the process in the comments if today you decide to believe that silence is formation and not rejection. Here we enter uncomfortable but necessary territory. Have you ever wondered if a part of you is afraid this desert will end? It sounds strange, but sometimes the brokenness becomes our identity. We get used to saying, I'm struggling, because it makes us feel close to others and to God. There's a hidden fear. If God heals me and makes me strong, will he leave? Will he stop paying attention to me because I'm no longer a project that needs fixing? You're afraid that your pain is the only thread that connects you to the sacred. But let me tell you something. You are not loved because you are broken. You are loved because you exist. Healing doesn't make you less interesting to heaven. It makes you ready for the task that has been planned while you waited. There's a powerful story about a desperate father who told Jesus, I do believe, but help my unbelief. It's a complete contradiction, yet there was no rebuke. Why? Because raw honesty is more valuable than feigned faith. Your mixed feelings don't disqualify you. If you're afraid of success or change, say so. You don't need masks of perfection. God prefers your painful truth to your religious lie. By admitting you're afraid heaven will slip away if you do well, you allow a greater truth to be revealed. God's presence doesn't depend on your need, but on an eternal commitment. To ensure this message is not just a reflection, but a real change in your life, I want you to apply these practical steps today. Direct identification. Don't say, I have problems. Be specific. Say, I'm afraid of being alone, or this debt of such and such a large amount is robbing me of my peace. Clarity is the first step to liberation. Bold declaration. Don't just think it. Say it out loud. The enemy loves secrecy and silence. When you verbalize your burden, you break the atmosphere of doubt and reclaim your space. Visual transfer. Imagine that worry as a heavy object in your hands. Now, visualize yourself intentionally handing it over. Not throw it away in anger, but placing it in hands that have the strength to hold it. Letting go of the outcome. This is the hardest part. Once you release the burden, your mind will want to retrieve it to check if anything has changed. Trusting means leaving the object in someone else's hands and walking away without looking back. There's a world of difference between delivering a concern and simply postponing it. When you try to control when and how the solution will arrive, you haven't actually let go of anything. You've just shifted the burden. Your only responsibility is the delivery. Managing the timing belongs to a higher authority. The real challenge doesn't happen during prayer, but the next morning, you'll wake up and your mind, out of sheer habit, will try to resume the strategy and anxious planning. At that moment, you will have reversed the transfer. You must be firm and tell yourself, no, that no longer belongs to me. It has already been given away. The curious thing is that many of us have practiced this protocol all our lives, but in reverse, God tried to carry our burden, and we snatch it away saying, I'll take care of it. I'll solve it. Today, we are simply changing the direction of the flow. There's an ancient word to describe the act of surrendering our anxieties, which resembles the movement of an athlete throwing a javelin. It's not a timid or delicate gesture. You don't gently deposit your fears. You hurl them with force and determination, as if your life depended on that object getting as far away from you as possible. Imagine that athlete, running, standing firm, and using all their energy to project the load far away. That's how your confidence should be, aggressive and determined. Visualize right now that heaviest load you carry. Feel its texture and weight in your hands. Now, in your mind, run toward that peaceful presence and throw it at their feet. See how that load is picked up and placed on shoulders that never tire. Write the word transferred in the comments to seal this act of freedom in the spiritual and earthly realms. You must be alert. When someone decides to walk free, the environment usually reacts. In the next 72 hours, you're likely to face very specific patterns of resistance. These aren't random attacks. They're attempts to drag you back into the dock. Here's a guide to neutralizing them. 1. Unwelcome recalls. Out of nowhere, a past mistake will resurface to whisper that nothing has changed. Strategy. Declare aloud that this chapter is closed and forgiven. Don't engage with the memory. 2. Friction in your relationships. Sudden conflicts or misunderstandings with close people. They're trying to isolate you. Strategy. Don't react impulsively. Wait 24 hours. You'll see how the tension dissolves on its own when you don't feed it. 3. Instability and well-being. Unexpected expenses or minor material obstacles that try to shift your focus from abundance to scarcity. Strategy. Be grateful for the solution before you see it. Affirm that your sustenance doesn't depend on a thread, but on an inexhaustible source. 4. Unexplained exhaustion. You'll feel disproportionate physical fatigue. This is your system recalibrating to a new level of peace. Strategy. Rest is a victory, not a defeat. Sleep without guilt. 5. Sleep invasion. Confusing dreams or nightmares that take you back to past situations. Strategy. Before closing your eyes, establish that your sleep time is protected in sacred territory. 6. The urge to isolate. A sudden urge to withdraw from everyone and stop responding. This is when lies ring truest. Strategy. Do the opposite. Connect with someone, even if it's just with a brief message. Don't be alone. The 7th barrier you'll encounter is the attempt to sabotage your own peace. Just when you begin to feel the weight lift, that feeling of not being worthy of the good things happening to you will appear. It's like an echo whispering, "Who do you think you are?" Any minute now, they'll realize you're not as strong as you seem. To this identity crisis, respond with absolute truth. You are not here because of your merits, but because of your heritage. You don't have to work to earn a love that has already been bestowed upon you. Remember that even in the most trying of times, history's greatest figures face these same doubts and emerge victorious, not through physical strength, but through the clarity of their purpose. To help you understand that this isn't just theory, I want you to think about real people who, like you, decided to stop apologizing for existing. A woman who worked tirelessly, exhausted and burdened with mounting debt, decided one night to stop apologizing for her financial situation. 5 days later, she received unexpected news, a promotion that included retroactive recognition. It wasn't a senseless miracle. It was a result of shifting her energy away from scarcity and opening herself to the possibility of receiving what was rightfully hers. A man who hadn't spoken to his daughter in years because of the guilt he felt over a painful divorce. The weight of his own judgment prevented him from even attempting a call. The moment he accepted that he no longer had to punish himself, the phone rang. It was his daughter. The barrier he thought was made of steel was, in reality, a smokescreen that dissolved when he regained his inner peace. A nurse was on the verge of quitting due to extreme exhaustion. She felt empty until she realized that her work wasn't just a job, but a mission of companionship. Days later, a gesture from a patient who had no one else reminded her that she was the answer to someone else's prayer. By healing her own perspective, she healed her capacity to serve. Write, "I deserve the good things" in the comments if you decide today to stop being your own prosecutor. There's a story that teaches us that even when it seems heaven didn't intervene as we hoped, protection was always there. A young woman lost her mother after a long battle of faith. She felt betrayed and abandoned. However, weeks later, she discovered that long before any diagnosis, her mother had taken precautions that now gave her the peace of mind she needed to heal without external pressure. That protection wasn't a last-minute coincidence. It was a preparation that began years before. Sometimes, divine intervention doesn't prevent the storm, but ensures you'll have shelter ready before the first drop falls. She understood that she shouldn't apologize for her pain, but rather accept that, even in absence, she had been deeply cared for. Many feel special under the term chosen, but there's a simpler, deeper reality behind that word. You're not chosen because you're superior to others, nor because you have impeccable spirituality. You're chosen because you were willing to listen. Thousands hear the call, but few choose to stop, pay attention, and respond with an open heart. The difference between being called and being chosen lies in your response. By being here, processing this message and allowing these truths to sink into your spirit, you have made the decision to walk through the door. You have ceased to be a spectator of your own life and have become the protagonist of a story of restoration that is just beginning. Saying yes to a deep spiritual connection means accepting a commitment that most avoid. By accepting your identity, you have enrolled in a school of life where pain is not the end, but the tool. You enrolled to understand the burden, not to sink into it, but to become an expert at how to transfer it. Now you are living proof that being in a process of restoration does not mean being finished. Being chosen is not a title of nobility. It's a state of availability. Heaven doesn't scour resumes or seek the most qualified by human standards. It seeks hearts that, despite their flaws, say, "Here I am." The fact that you've reached this point in the message, battling your own doubts, is the clearest sign that your willingness is genuine. There's an ancient concept that describes what happens when you decide to renew your inner self. You don't become a repaired version of who you were, but rather a completely different being. It's not an aesthetic improvement. It's a profound change of identity. From this moment on, you are no longer defined by what tried to destroy you, but by the process of transformation that is shaping you. You are no longer the person hiding under the weight of past mistakes. You are a new entity walking toward a specific task. But before embarking on that mission, it is essential to seal what you have received so that it doesn't slip away amidst the distractions of daily life. Write "new identity" in the comments to confirm that you are leaving behind the version that was defined by pain. To strengthen your confidence, I want you to pay attention to what will happen in the next 3 weeks. These are not random events, but rather signs confirming that the transfer has been successful. 1. Unexpected reconnection. Days 3 to 5, someone you lost touch with a long time ago will appear out of nowhere. Pay attention to their words. They will say something that will answer a question only you knew about. It's the heavens showing you that your innermost thoughts are being heard. 2. Clarity and rest. Days 7 to 10, you will have a moment of mental clarity or a very vivid dream where you see yourself doing something that used to frighten you. Don't see it as a mere fantasy. It's a preview of the ability that is awakening within you. 3. Sign of abundance. You will receive a small, unexpected sign of provision. It may be a gesture, a discount, or a minor opportunity. It won't be the end of all your worries, but it will be proof that the cycle of scarcity has begun to break. 4. Withdrawal of opposition. You will notice that a situation or a person that was causing you constant conflict will begin to lose its power. Without you having to intervene or fight, the tension will simply subside. It's an intervention that allows you to move forward without distractions. 5. Peace in the storm. The 5th sign is a renewal of your vitality. You will begin to notice that your rest is deeper and that the chronic fatigue that seemed to have settled in your bones is beginning to fade away. Your physical body is simply responding to the freedom your spirit has already embraced today. When the soul releases its burdens, biology aligns with peace. The 6th sign is a fluidity in your relationships. You'll see how a conversation that kept you up at night, or that you thought was lost, unfolds with astonishing naturalness. No longer burdened by guilt, your words will flow more freely, and others will sense it. Finally, the 7th sign is absolute clarity. An opportunity you weren't even looking for will open up before you. 1. You won't need to overanalyze it. Your inner voice will simply say, "This is a way." Write, "I receive my signs" in the comments to activate your expectation for what's coming in these 21 days. This message didn't come to you just to bring you personal relief. Its ultimate purpose is your unfolding. There's a detailed design for your life, a specific blueprint that isn't a vague wish, but a firm intention. But the well-being that now surrounds you as a goal, to make you the bridge for someone else. You are now the most credible person to speak of hope, not because you read books on the subject, but because you know the chill of 3:47 in the morning. You know what it's like to feel unfairly judged, and therefore you're the only one who can look another in the eye and say, "I've been there, and there is a way out." We are comforted so that that same comfort can become a tool of rescue for others. Your story of restoration is now your greatest credential. We are about to close this cycle with a moment of deep connection. Don't think of this as a simple farewell. It is an activation ceremony. I ask that, wherever you are, you change your posture, sit with your back straight, or practice mindfulness if you are walking. This symbolizes that your spiritual spine is now aligned with truth. Imagine your hands open in front of you, palms facing upward. This is a gesture of someone who has nothing left to hide and everything to receive. In the next few minutes, you might feel a sensation of warmth or an unusual lightness. This is a sign that heaven's commitment to your new identity has been sealed. The promise is clear. When you step into the light envelopes you completely. Under the authority of a genuine and profound connection with the divine, we recognize that this moment is not a coincidence. The doors of understanding are open to you. The very breath that gives life to all creation is flowing in this space right now. Everything is aligned. What is established within you today will be engraved as an unshakable truth in your being. You will not leave this encounter the same person. Your reality is perfectly understood. We see those who have fearfully examined their resources, those who have suppressed their inner pleas for not feeling worthy of being heard. We recognize those who wake up in the early hours with groan in their soul, searching for a way out, and those who have had to fake a smile while feeling like they were crumbling inside. Every tear shed in solitude, every moment of guilt for pain that wasn't yours, and every time you ask for forgiveness simply for existing has been seen and validated. Today we place a seal upon your spirit, so that you will never again bear the weight of life in solitude. I seal the understanding. You understand now that the silence was not abandonment, but the meticulous care of a master over his work. I hereby seal the judicial revocation. You are no longer in the dock. Your case has been closed, and any verdict against you is null and void. I seal the immunity. That wound of believing that your pain is a spiritual failure is closed today. Seal your new identity. You are not broken, nor are you worth less. You are a chosen person with a clear purpose, free to become everything you were designed to be. Any false guilt that compelled you to apologize for occupying a place in this world is disarmed. That chronic shame that whispered you were too damaged to be restored is canceled. Those ideas lose all authority over you today. Write amen in the comments to seal this activation in your life and claim your new season of peace. In the next 72 hours, you will see unexpected signs of provision and support. In the next 7 days, you will see the silence in an important relationship begin to break in a restorative way. In 21 days, you'll feel a real physical lightness because a burden has been completely lifted. The years you felt worted or consumed by sadness are being compensated from this moment forward. You are entering a time of acceleration. What once seemed to take decades will now manifest with astonishing ease. Doors that were sealed open, favors that seemed delayed are released, and any plans that sought to hold you back are reversed in your favor. May light shine upon your path and surround you with goodness. May you find grace in every step you take, and may peace, that which surpasses all understanding, be the foundation of your home and your mind. This is your new reality. What you have just received is not a mere wish. It is a clear sign that heaven's favor rests upon you. A truth has been established that no one can take from you. But now, a fundamental question arises regarding your new identity. Are you willing to be the bearer of this clarity? Will you be the one to remind others that silence is not absence, but preparation? Will you accept the challenge of being living proof that the cracks in your story don't signify the end, but rather the place where light enters, in the privacy of your thoughts? Take that step. Say yes. At this very moment, your answer has been recorded and your mission has been activated. You no longer walk like someone awaiting sentencing. You walk like someone who's been sent forth. You have ceased to be the accused and have become the ambassador of renewed hope. The cycle of unfounded guilt has been broken, and the courtroom of your own mind is empty. The verdict is your freedom. Today you are officially freed from that season where you felt every day was a test of survival. You are entrusted with the task of bringing this peace to the person who came to mind during this message. You don't need grand speeches. Your transformed presence alone will be the most powerful message they can receive. Before we conclude, don't rush back to the noise of the world. I invite you to remain in absolute stillness for a few moments. Let your breathing calm and your spirit fully assimilate this transfer of burdens. Allow each word to settle deep within you, sealing your new identity. Enjoy this peaceful space that belongs to you by right. Amen.